Okay, good. There we are. Thank God for everything. We're, thank you for bringing us together here. We're going to study one word at a time. This is biblical word study, and that's what we do. We're in the Hebrew Old Testament, we're in the Greek New Testament, and we're just looking at words, man. We're having fun here on a Saturday night. And we talk coughing already. Come on, man, just started. And we're doing figs, man. Figs, fig tree, and I'll just give you some definitions to start off here with the New Testament. This 4808 is suke. All right, that just means fig tree, and there's like 16 verses for that. And you can find this in the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament, volume 7, starting on page 751. We're probably going to read some from that. And then the 4810 is the sukan, which is the fig, the ripe fruit of the fig tree, sukan. And then this one verse here in Revelation 6:13, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And this olunthos is an untimely fig, an unripe fig, which grows during the winter, yet does not come to maturity, but falls off in the spring. And there's a whole bunch of parables and metaphors about the figs falling. And when Jesus came to the tree, he saw the flower, but he didn't see the figs because it wasn't the time of figs was not yet. And basically, that doesn't mean that it wasn't the time for figs to be on the tree. It wasn't the time to be picking them. So the figs should have been on the tree. That's basically what that means. And this fig tree here, this is the 4808. Okay, yeah. So that's in there also. So I'll just take this one out of here. And we're going to look at, in the Old Testament, would be number, I'm all mixed up here now, number 5. So this would be, in the Old Testament, this would be Tehana, or Tehan, Tehana, fig tree, and it's 8384 in the Hebrew, and it's TWOT 2490. I could read this, but we'll probably, when we do the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament, sometimes it covers most of these verses, so that's the way we'll do that. And then this 1690 is Debala. It's a cake of figs or a lump of figs, so we're not going to get into that too much. What's his name? Used Isaiah had to do something for healing. Let them take a lump of figs and lay it on it for a plaster upon the boil, and they shall recover. So that was only 2 times. And also Zebulun and Naphtali bought bread of asses on camels, on mules, and on oxen, and meal, cakes of figs, and bunches of raisins. So all of these go together: the raisins, the figs, and you see the vine. You see a lot of times the olive oil, the olives trees together. And we'll look at that when we see Jotham when he's ragging on Abimelech when he became one of the judges in Israel, and he's talking about the bramble, the vine of the fig tree, and and we'll get into that. There's a nice little parable there with that. And then this other thing here, this is the sycamore tree. So this would be Shakam, sycamore tree, and this, we're not going to get into this too much. It's the Greek 4807 we looked at already, is Sucaminos. Sucaminos is the sycamine tree, having the form and foliage of the mulberry, but fruit resembling the fig. So these two go together. If you put this word, this number 4807 into the Septuagint, you'll come up with all of these verses here. And take my word for it. So we'll get that out of there. And I'm going to read a little from the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament and track some of this down. The suke is the fig tree. Its fruit is usually to sukan, which is fig, or especially late fig. And we also find in the Septuagint the specialized prodromos, and that was the 4274. That's 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one here. The prodromos is the forerunner. I don't want to get too far into this because then it'll take us into the first fruits and the first ripe fruit, and that could just take the whole night, which probably I should do, but I still want to stick with this this fig over here. But this prodromos is one time in the Bible. And where is it from? It's from protrecho. You got the pro and the trecho, and this probably means to run. Yeah, trecho means to run, so it's to run before. And they use it, well, this explains it here, the forerunner. The word occurs once in the Bible, whither a forerunner Jesus entered for us. Even Jesus made a high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So in this sense, Christ is our forerunner, for he has gone into heaven to prepare a place for his people, into which he will eventually lead them. The idea of a forerunner is peculiar to Christian dispensation. In the Old Testament Levitical economy, they knew nothing of such a thing. But you'll see it in, it was in Micah, I think the word is used, not as a forerunner, but somebody that's coming before, like John the Baptist is mentioned. You'll see him in the Old Testament, you know, the Elijah and the forerunner and things like that. But they use a different word for it. The high priest was a representative, not a forerunner, where he led namely into the Holy of Holies, and that people could not follow. So he was not the pioneer of the people. Christ is. Christ goes nowhere but where his people may follow. He is the file leader. And it says, compare Hebrews 12:2. We are looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. So that's what the forerunner did for us. He goeth before his people to prepare the way for them, to open the gates of heaven by his atoning blood and priestly intercession, and the believer is led into full fellowship with God through Jesus Christ. And they had something under here for the forerunner, also John the Baptist forerunner. I couldn't find that anywhere, but you know, we know that he is the forerunner for Jesus. So he prepared the way. You know, they say prepare the way, and that's the gospel. I'm going to leave this number here. And also, scopos is another word, and that means just to see or to saw. And first time early is to sokando proimon. I had to look all of these Greek words up because there's no Greek numbers for them. I had to look up in a Greek dictionary. And then this protogona. First I thought it was first parent, but it actually means primitive. So, and then if you throw this into the Septuagint, that's 4274. Do I have it here? 4274. I got the 3653 there. Here it is. 4274 is two times in the Old Testament. We'll look at this real quick here. 4274 forerunner, Numbers 13:20, and what the land is, whether it be, this is when they were going into the land, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not, and be ye of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. So this prodomos they got here, in the Old Testament, they use this word 1061, and we're going to look at that. That's a very important word. What happened here? Oh, that's 28. Let's go to 28:4 then. All right, 28:4, and the glorious. That's Isaiah 28:4, and the glorious beauty which is on the head of the fat valley shall be a fading flower, as the hasty fruit before the summer, which when he looketh upon it, while it is yet in his hand, he eateth it up. So this is the hasty fruit. Let me get this word down here. This is bikur, and this is a big word in the Old Testament, talking about first fruits of the crop, or first ripe, and it comes from the main one, which is 1069, which is the verb, I believe. Let me see here. What happened? I'm losing my touch here. Okay, well, you have to take my word for it. But those are the two verses there. Numbers 13:20. First ripe grapes. I want to get this 1069. Here it is. 1069 is bokar, and that's the probably to burst the womb, that is to bear or to make early fruit, a woman or tree, also denominatively from 1061, which is bikur, to give the birthright, make firstborn, be firstling, bring forth first child or new fruit. So that's basically what you get from that when you put forerunner into the Old Testament. That's 28:4. So you look at those words, 1061, 1063. Bikur also means hasty fruit. I got them up here. I got a bunch of 1061. Let me just run onto it real quick. 1061, here it is. 1061, bikur. First fruit, first ripe figs, hasty fruit. The first of the crops of the fruit that ripened was gathered and offered to God according to the ritual at Pentecost. And it comes from this 1069, which is the verb. There's only 4 verses here. Firstborn, new fruit, firstling, first child, to be firstborn. And that's bakar. And this is in the TWOT 244. We could probably look at this, but there's a whole bunch of stuff here. 158 occurrences of this root. Firstborn, firstling, the eldest son, first ripe, first fruits. Bekora is birthright, primogenitor. And then you got Bekira is firstborn daughter. And we know, talking about the firstborn son, that's Reuben. He was supposed to get the birthright, but he didn't. He was also supposed to be the head of the family, but then he didn't. He's not. So there's a lot of stuff here. We can't read all of this, but if you got your TWOT, just go to number 244 and have fun looking at all this. And then, and there's 16 verses with that, talking about the first fruits. Can't get into all of it, but as you can see, there's a lot of good verses here. There's that 28:4. We're probably going to read this about 5 times. It comes up a lot in the study here. The hasty fruit before the summer, and Nahum 3:12. I looked at that about 5 times. All thy strongholds shall be like fig trees with the first ripe figs. If they be shaking, they shall even fall into the mouth of the eater. So a lot of times you'll see this is a negative aspect when it's really ripe like that. What happens after it ripe? When it's ripe, it goes bad. So you want to get it just before it's ripe, And that's us. We're the figs. And Israel is the fig. when it talks about the husbandman going in and planting into the vineyard. We know the vineyard is Jerusalem, and we know that the trees are excuse me, the vineyard is Israel, and the trees are Jerusalem, and the planter is Jesus or God, and so there's a lot of different metaphors that are going around with this, and that's what struck me about this, being the fig. And this 1063, it's Bikorah, first ripe, first fruit. And Hosea 9:10, I found Israel like grapes in the wilderness, which is good. I saw your fathers as the first ripe in the fig tree at a first time. That's great. But they went to Baal Peor and separated themselves unto shame, and their abominations were according as they loved. And in Micah 7:1, woe is me, for I am as when they have gathered the summer fruits, as the grape gleanings of the vintage. There is no cluster to eat. My soul desireth the first ripe fruit. And there's the fruit comes on the figs twice in a year. We'll run into it if I get a chance to read it again. Once in the fall, once in the summer, and once in the fall. And that's why you see when Jesus came upon that tree, he cursed it. There was nothing. And also another parable about the fig tree, when he says, well, the master comes and says, what? How come this tree is sitting here 3 years and it's giving no fruit? He says, cut it down. And the guy says, no, leave it again. I'll dung it and we'll see what happens. And that's a parable about something else, and hopefully we can get into that. I think that has to do with Jesus and his 3 years on earth, and all kinds of parallels there, Numbers 13:20. Why is that? So, because that's 19. All right. Let me see. In 9:10, it's early, first time, fig tree, first ripe. And then Nahum 3:12 talks about the first ripe figs. Okay, we did that. Let's see. The early fig, which ventures out so soon at first, even before the leaves. So you can see leaves, but not fruit, because the fruit comes on before the leaves. It is explained in terms of scopos, or gold, which draws on older sources. And then in Hosea 9:10, we read that. Okay. And in Jeremiah, I should have these pages up here. Jeremiah 24:2. Here we go. Let me go to this page here. And in Song of Solomon's 2:13, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but this page it's got a few verses on it that I liked when I was looking this up. And it says, the fig tree putteth forth her green figs, and the vines with the tender grape give a good smell. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. So it's about time, it's coming. We're getting ready. And then the 28:4, we looked at, let me see what the numbers are on this. The green figs is Pog, yeah. And when you see Pog here, in the Greek, it's page or page. That's why we get Beth Page. Here it is, 967. Beth Phage. We say Beth Page, but it's Beth Phage. It's house of unripe figs. 6291. House of Phag, or house of Peg. House of unripe figs. And then tender grape. I'm not going to get into that, but that's the good stuff too. Some of the tender grape, it's all good stuff, and it smells good. So he's saying, "Come on." That's the church. He's talking to the church. And we saw this already. The hasty fruit. That's the 1061. That's the Bikur, the first ripe fruit. Okay, I wanted to get into that. I keep jumping into that, but we'll save that for another day. Or we might get into it later. And then the naughty figs, with Jeremiah 24:2, talks about the Proimos, 4406. I'd have to look in the Septuagint for that, but I don't want to do that right now. So he's talking about one basket had very good figs, even like the figs that are first ripe. Bakara, first ripe. That's good stuff. And the other basket had very naughty figs, which could not be eaten, and they were so bad. So this is a parable that Jeremiah, and these naughty figs, what's that? That's evil, Ra, the naughty figs. And if we look at that in context, we can see that the Lord showed me, and behold, 2 baskets of figs, which were set before the temple of the Lord. After that, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away captive Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and the princes of Judah with the carpenters and the smiths. So this wasn't the 586 one. This was the one that was on like 605 or the 598 when they went over, and they took them over in the peaceful captivity, I guess you would call it. And he had brought them to Babylon. One basket had very good figs. And then he said to me, what seest thou, Jeremiah? And I said, figs, the good figs, very good, and the evil, very evil, that cannot be eaten. They are so evil. And so he's using these as metaphors for Israel. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, like these good figs, so will I acknowledge them that are carried away captive of Judah. So the good figs are the ones that went over voluntarily, I guess, without being carried away captive. But they acknowledge them that I carried away captive of Judah, whom I have sent out of this place into the land of the Chaldeans for their good. So he's telling them, you got to go to Babylon, you got to be taken captive, you got to get out of the land. He wants them out of the land for 70 years, so the nutrients come back into the soil. For I will set mine eyes upon them for good, if they go away, if they go to Babylon. And I will bring them again into this land, and I will build them and not pull them down. I will plant them and not pluck them up. And I will give them a heart to know me, that I am the Lord, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. For they shall return unto me with the whole heart. And what about the evil figs? He says, and as the evil figs which cannot be eaten, they are so evil. Surely, thus saith the Lord, so will I give Zedekiah, the king of Judah, and his princes, and the residue of Jerusalem that remain in this land, and them that dwell in the land of Egypt. So if you stay in the land, you're going to get beat up when they come in 586, and he destroys the land. And he says, I will deliver them to be removed unto all the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt, to be a reproach and a proverb, a taunt and a curse in all places whither I shall drive them. So, if you stay in the land, you're a naughty fig. And if you go to Egypt, try and run to Egypt, he's going to track you down and kill you too. So you're a naughty fig, you're a big fig dead. And I will send the sword, the famine, the pestilence. Boom. That's his judgment. Sword, famine, and pestilence. Sword, famine, pestilence, and then the beast, which is Babylon. Among them till they be consumed from off the land that I gave unto them and to their fathers. So there's parables and metaphors for all the naughty figs and bad figs and things like that. And then also in Revelation 6:13 talks about untimely figs. And that's the one we looked at already. That's the olunthos, unripe, which grows during the winter. It does not come to maturity, but falls off in the spring. And these are the stars from heaven. We know the stars from heaven are the angels. Is an angel, and fell into the earth even as a fig tree casteth balo her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And then this unripe grape in Job 15:33, he shall shake off his unripe grape as the vine, and shall cast off his flower as the olive. And Beser is the unripe grape. sour grapes. And Jeremiah 29:17, thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will send upon them the sword, the famine, and pestilence, and will make them like vile figs that cannot be eaten. They are so vile. So these are the vile figs. Shoar, vile, one time in the Bible. Horrid, disgusting, vile, offensive. Horrible thing. 29:17, that's right. 5:30, a wonderful and horrible thing is committed in the land. I have seen also in the prophets of Jerusalem a horrible thing. They commit adultery. That's all the horrible stuff there. And it comes from this word, sha'ar, which means to think, to split open, to reason out, calculate, rest. Okay, that's interesting. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. I don't know how they're connected, but they are. They cannot be eaten. They're so vile. All right. And then let me read on down here. In Micah 7:1, though the Septuagint, which deviates from the Hebrew, is doubtful whether protogona refers to the fruits of the fig tree, and we read that already, and that's the first ripe fruit. All right. There is no grape to eat, no early fig for which my soul longs. And that's that. That's the Micah 7:1 and the Isaiah 28 and the early fig, the untimely fig. That's the olunthos. Okay. Well, I can get into all of this. I really wanted to jump into that first ripe and that other thing there. What was the number? There was a whole bunch of them. Let me give them to you because it's in the back of my head and I'll never get it out of. I gave you 1061. So that's the first fruits. That's the Bikur. And the other one is 10. Let me do 62. 1062. This is Bekorah. All right. And then you got 1063. We looked at already. I'm just going to put these up here so you'll have them. 1063. Look, there's the two, Hosea 9 and Micah 7, right? That's a Bikorah, first ripe. And then you got 1067. 1067. 67. This is firstborn. I guess into a little heavy stuff here with the firstborn stuff. And then 1069. Just click this and see if it comes up there. Good. All right. 1069. And that's bakar. That's the verb. All right. And then 1073. We looked at already. So we'll put it up here just so you have it. There we go. 3. That's one time. And that's it. That's the Baccarat. So those are the main ones there. And if you put all of these verses, you'll find some good stuff about first fruits, firstborn, first ripe. And it's a lot of good stuff. And it's TWOT 244. All right. And I recommend that you read it and you get a good read in here. So I just wanted to put that up so you have it. If you ever go back and look at this. All right. I'm going to leave this up here. And I get there was a 1060 and a 1062 also, but yeah, you'll figure it out. So in antiquity, there is literary testimony of the fig tree in Palestine as early as the middle of the 3rd millennium. But in the Old Testament, it is one of the most important fruit trees in the country. In the parable of Jotham, in Judges 9, 7 to 15. Let's go to this here. Judges 9, 7 to 15. when you talk about Jotham, he was Gideon's son, uh, and this 8:31 is talking about Gideon dying. Okay, Gideon's dead. He was a good judge, and then we got Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren and communed with them and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether it be better for you either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, who was a leader, and he had Gideon was his son also. And there's 70 persons. So he's got 70 relatives, I guess, to reign over you, or that one reign over you. You do want this whole family, or you want me? So in other words, Abimelech, he's trying to become leader, and he's going to undercut everything, and he does a lot of bad stuff. He kills these 70 people, and he takes over. He's one of the most evil judges that they saw before the kings came out. Remember that also that I am your bone and your flesh. So he's buttering them up. He's talking to the men of Shechem, which there was problem with Shechem and Judah too. What they did. The sons Simeon and Levi went and told all these guys that they had to be circumcised, and if you want my sister, good, because the what's his name raped Dinah. Or maybe it was consensual, who knows? But she had sex and they weren't married, so Simeon and Levi went and fooled these guys into getting circumcised, and they were so sore, and the two tribes went and destroyed these people in Shechem. So they're not really Israelites, you know what I'm saying? And his mother's brethren spake it to him in the ears of all the men of Shechem, all these words, and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech. For they said, he is our brother. All right, big deal. And they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Beer Berith, wherewith Abimelech hired vain and light persons which followed him. So he's got all these evil people hanging out with him. And he went into his father's house in Oprah and slew his brethren, the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70. So these are his relatives. Upon one stone, notwithstanding yet Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left, for he was hiding. And all the men of Shechem gathered together, and all the house of Milo, and went and made Abimelech king by the plain of the pillar that was in Shechem. Where it starts here. He said, and when they told it to Jotham, he went and stood in the top of Mount Gerizim. And this is where Moses, you got Gerizim and the other mount, I forget, Ebal, and the air in these areas, like you could stand on top of a mountain, and the people at the bottom of the mountain can hear you because the sound travels so far, and you can be on one mountain, and the people on the top of another mountain can hear you. The sound is I read it that it travels very well in this area. I always wondered about that. How does the mountains look so far apart? How can they hear each other? When he was given the blessings and the cursings, when they had 6 tribes on Mount Gerizim and 6 tribes on Mount Ebal, and they all answered and spoke back and forth, they can hear each other. So he lifted up his voice and he cried and he said unto them, Hearken unto me, you men of Shechem, that God may hearken unto you. The trees went forth. So the trees are what? The trees are the people. And he says, the trees went forth on a time to anoint a king over them. So what do you use to anoint a king? It's got to be oil, right? So that's the regal tree. That's the best tree. And they said unto the olive tree, reign over us. So that would be the best tree. And these are the people, the men of Shechem are these trees. And the olive tree would be a good king. And the olive tree said unto them, should I leave my fatness, wherewith by me they honor God and man, and go to be promoted over these trees? So he wouldn't do it. And then the tree said to the fig tree. So the fig tree is like number 2 after the olive tree. And the fig tree is symbolized as peace and security. You know, and when he says you're going to have you plant your fig trees and you'll sit under them and you'll eat, and your family will be safe. So the olive tree is anointing, and the fig tree is like peace and security. And they said to the fig tree, "Come and reign over us." But the fig tree said unto them, "Should I forsake my sweetness and my good fruit, and go to be promoted over the trees?" And then the tree said to the vine, which is the same thing like the fig tree. If you got a vine there, "Come down, reign over us." And the vine said to them, "Should I leave my wine, which cheereth God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees?" And then said all the trees unto the bramble. Now this is like bramble. You don't want to be bramble. I mean, that's thorns and bad stuff. The bramble, "Come down and reign over us." And the bramble, which is Abimelech. Okay, so now they're talking to Abimelech, and they're saying, "The bramble said unto the trees, If in truth you anoint me king over you, then come and put your trust in my shadow, and if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon." So these are the people of Lebanon. So Abimelech is saying, "Yeah, go ahead, make me king, and I'll take care of you guys." But we know what happens if you read on down. We're not going to read the whole thing, but he does some evil stuff, some bad stuff, and eventually the people turn on him and kill him. So he got his comeuppance. Now, therefore, so this is Jotham yelling at these people. He's giving them, a parable, and he's actually being sarcastic when he's doing this, and he's chiding them, and he's got to run for his life after this. He says, "Now, therefore, if you have done truly and sincerely in that you have made Abimelech the bramble king, and if you have dealt well with Jerubbaal and his house, which they haven't, and have done unto him according to the deserving of his hands, for my father fought for you and adventured his life far, and delivered you out of the hand of Midian." So this is in the past. This is what happened. Jerubbaal and Gideon. When it says my father fought for you, he's talking about Gideon when he fought the Midianites, and he delivered them out of the hand of Midian. And you are risen up against my father's house this day, and have slain his sons 70 persons upon one stone, and have made this bramble, Abimelech, the son of his maidservant, king over the men of Shechem, because he is your brother. If ye then have dealt truly and sincerely with Jerubbaal and with his house this day, then rejoice ye in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice in you. But if not, let fire come from Abimelech, which is going to happen, and devour the men of Shechem and the house of Milo, and let fire come out from the men of Shechem, from this house of Milo, and devour Abimelech. So he's like cursing them. You want this bramble as your king? Go ahead. But he's going to destroy you, and then you're going to destroy him. And then Jotham ran away, and he fled, and he went to Beer, and he dwelt there for fear of Abimelech, his brother, who killed his 70 brothers. All right. So, and it goes on to tell the story of what Abimelech did, and he was evil. God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole story. You get it. So that's a parable of the trees, And then let me see. So the olive, the fig, the vine, they all first came the royal dignity among the trees. Okay. Let me see. The everyday phenomenon of the fig tree leads it to be used figuratively in most varied ways. And we looked at a bunch of these, but let me see if I got them here. These are, okay, these are in Amos. Okay, Amos, where am I here? This is in relation to this. So Amos 4:9, he says, "I have smitten you with blasting and mildew when your gardens and your vineyards and your fig trees and your olive trees increased. The palmer worm devoured them. Yet have ye not returned unto me, saith the Lord." So he's sending the famine and the pestilence and it's still not returning. And I have sent among you the pestilence after the manner of Egypt. Your young men have I slain with the sword, and have taken away your horses, and I have made the stink of your camps to come up into your nostrils, yet you have not returned unto me, saith the Lord. So again, he's using a metaphor of the fig trees and your olive trees increasing. And in Habakkuk 3:17, although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall fruit be in the vines, the labor of the olive shall fail, and the fields shall yield no meat. The the flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. The Lord God is my strength, and he will make my feet like hinds' feet, and he will make me walk upon mine high places. So, and he'll send, he's saying, even though he'll send the sword, the famine, and pestilence, and although this stuff will happen, he's still my God, and I still love him. That's Habakkuk 3:16. And Jeremiah 5:17, he says, and they shall eat up thine harvest and thy bread, which thy sons and thy daughters should eat, and they shall eat up thy flocks and thine herds, and they shall eat up thy vines and thy fig trees. They shall impoverish thy fenced cities, wherein thou trustest with the sword. Nevertheless, in those days, saith the Lord, I will not make a full end of you. So he's going to beat you to near death, kill thousands, but he's still going to be, he's not going to make a full end. As you can see today, there's still a remnant. We are the remnant. We are Israel, spiritual Israel. As for me, in Jeremiah 40:10, behold, I will dwell in Mizpah to serve the Chaldeans, which will come unto us. So he's talking about 586 BC. But ye gather ye wine and summer fruits and oil, and put them in your vessels, and dwell in your cities that you have taken. So these are the people that stayed in Jerusalem, and they still had it. Let me see. And then Hosea. What am I looking at? This one. No. I'm looking at Hosea. Habakkuk 3:17, Jeremiah 5:17, Hosea 2:14. Where is it? What? Oh. All right. 29, 17, all right. I don't see it here, but I'll have to get back to that. And then, so 29:17, Hosea 9, Hosea 3. Where is this one? Proverbs 27. Here it is. Okay. Isaiah 28:4. We read 5 times already. Jeremiah 8:13. I will surely consume them, saith the Lord. There shall be no grapes on the vine, nor figs on the fig tree, and the leaf shall fade, and the things that I have given them shall pass away from them. So he's going to bring judgment. And then 24:1, he says, the Lord showed me, and behold, 2 baskets of figs was set at the temple of the Lord. And after that, we read this already. And there was 1 basket had very good figs, even the figs that are first ripe. And these are the ones that went to Babylon or stayed behind in Jerusalem. And the other basket had very naughty figs. And these are the guys that went to Egypt and they could not be eaten. They were so bad. Good figs, very good. The evil were very evil, and they cannot be eaten. So he's using a metaphor of figs as people. And then 29:17, thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will send them the sword, the famine, and pestilence. I will make them like vile figs that cannot be eaten. They are so evil. All right. And then Hosea 9:10, we read a couple of times already. Um, there we go. And then Micah 7, we read that already. Nahum 3:12. All thy strongholds shall be like fig trees with the first ripe figs. If they be shaken, they shall even fall into the mouth of the eater. Behold, thy people in the midst of thee are woman. The gates of thy land shall be set wide open unto thine enemies. The fire shall devour the bars. So it's no good. And then Nahum, Proverbs 27:18. Whoso keepeth the fig tree shall eat the fruit thereof, so he that waiteth on his master shall be honored. There you go. Listen to him. And the first time it's mentioned, already in paradise, a fig is presupposed as the only tree mentioned by name. So in Genesis 3:7, Adam and Eve made for themselves aprons of fig leaves after they ate from the forbidden fruit. Their eyes were opened, they saw that they were naked, and the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And this is the only tree, besides the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. This is the only one that's mentioned by name in the garden, fig leaves. So, and then the fruits are distinguished as early figs and late figs. So I'm trying to figure out when these things came on the vine and all of that stuff. The early ones begin to form in March and are ripe at the end of May. As the first crop of the year, they are much appreciated. In Isaiah 28:4, by the late figs are the main crop. So the early figs are the ones that are in March, April, May. The late figs are the main crop. These develop on the new shoots. They ripen in late summer and are gathered not all at once, but from the middle of August to well on in October. So you'll get the spring, and then you'll get the summer, fall figs. In the New Testament, the fig tree is mentioned in many connections as a familiar part of the scene. There's a lot of stuff here in the New Testament about this stuff. The fig tree is of no particular significance in the account of the meeting of Jesus and Nathanael. You know, when Jesus said, I saw thee under the fig tree, there's no big deal. There's nothing there. It's just that, Jesus knew. Jesus saw him. And it really has no, we don't know what he was doing under the fig tree. It was just the fact that Jesus knew what he was doing, where he was going. It could have been anything. I saw you, when you were eating in the house. I saw you. He just mentioned the fig tree. That's all. In John 1, is it 1? Yeah, 48. Nathanael said unto him, Whence knowest thou me? And Jesus answered and said unto me, Before that Philip called thee, when thou was under the fig tree, I saw thee. So he's like, how did he know I was under a fig tree? And Nathanael said unto him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God, thou art the King of Israel. And Jesus answered and said unto him, Because I said unto thee, I saw thee under the fig tree, believest thou? Thou shalt see greater things than these. And he said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto you, hereafter you shall see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. So it was really nothing spectacular about that, except that Jesus was able to see him. And Nathanael had faith, and there was no guile in Nathanael. So this is a supernatural knowledge of Jesus, which plays an important role, has the same function in the conversation with the Samaritan woman. And he told the Samaritan woman, he says, yeah, I know you, who's your husband? She says, oh, I don't have one. He says, you're right. So he knew about her, getting off of the fig tree for a second here. Just like he knew, about her. But why? Because he was he was God. He had supernatural knowledge. He says to her, Go, call thy husband and come hither. knowing full well, the woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, thou hast said, well, I have no husband, for thou hast had 5 husbands. For he whom thou now hast is not thy husband, and that saidst thou truly. And the woman said, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. It's like Nathan, how did you see me under the tree? How'd you know I had 5 husbands? Because he's God, So that's all. So and then the metaphor in Matthew 7. I got these already down here, but I'm just going to put this up here, so I have to go looking for it. 7:16. First he says in 7:15 he says, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves." And he's talking about you'll know them by their fruits. He says, "You shall know them. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns? No. Or figs of thistles? No." So, um, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them. It's a good t-shirt. And that's also in Luke, I believe. Let me see. Do a cross-reference here. Is that Luke? Luke, is it 13? No, I thought it was Luke 6. Let me see. But Luke 13 has this parable of the fig tree here. In 13:6, he spake unto them this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came and sought fruit thereon and found none. Then he said unto the dresser of his vineyard, Behold, these 3 years I'd come seeking fruit in the fig tree, and find none. Cut it down. Why cumbereth the ground? I had something written here. I can't find it right now, but there was all kinds of stuff talking about this is the 3 years of his ministry, and this is reference to. So he's the dresser, okay, and the vineyard is Israel, and the fig tree is the Jews, and they're they're there now, and he's these 3 years. And then he says, "Oh Lord, let it alone this year also, till I shall dig about it and dung it. And if it bear fruit, well, and if not, then after that thou shalt cut it down." So we know what happened after that. They killed him. And what's Matthew? Well, let me look at Luke 6. I think Luke 6 is the other one that is talking about this. Luke 6, what is it, 40 something? 40, 24. Yeah, okay. See, but Luke, there's a little different. He says every tree is known by its fruit, but he doesn't get into the beware of the false prophets. So he doesn't say that, but he just goes on talk about a good man out of the good treasure of his heart to bring it forth that which is good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart bring it forth that which is evil. For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. That's it. So, and then Matthew 12, Matthew 12, 33, 33. Yeah, and he touches on it too, but they're the same thing, but slightly different context here. Either make the tree good and his fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt and his fruit corrupt. For the tree is known by his fruit. O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And good man out of the good treasure bring forth good things, evil man out of evil treasure bringeth forth evil things. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. Whew. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. So usually the Old Testament, Palestinian contrasting. Oh, I didn't read the rest of this, but and in 32 he says, originally this was perhaps an independent part of the tradition which could be interpreted in different ways. And Matthew 7:16, I think we looked at that already. This all goes back to the, yeah, we looked at that. Okay. You should know them by their fruits. And then in John, James 3:12 seems to be reminiscent of this Matthew 7:16. Let me just look at 7:16 real quick and remind you that you shall know them by their fruits. All right, and then James 3:12. 3:12. Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries? Either a vine figs? No. So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh? And he's talking about the tongue there. Does a fountain send forth the same place sweet water and bitter? So he's talking about the tongue here. The tongue can no man tame, and it's unruly evil, full of deadly poison. But the point of the metaphor is quite different here. It's connected with the warning against the sins of the tongue. And you can take it all the way back from 1 to 12. It talks about the tongue. The passage gives 3 illustrations to show how unnatural it is to use the tongue in 2 ways, for both blessing and for cursing. So it's either going to be good or bad. In 3:9. Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. So this is just as absurd as sweet and bitter water flowing from the same source in 3:11. As particular tree bringing forth the fruits of a different tree in 12. Right? Or in 12b. The aptness of the metaphor has been questioned both formally and materially. Going into that. The parable of the unfruitful fig tree. We touched on that already. It had something to do with, I believe, he's talking about his 3 years ministry. From a standpoint, and then the cursing of the fig tree. That's confusing too. Also, as a final period of grace is given to the fig tree, so Jesus is summoned to repentance, goes forth in a short period of grace before God's judgment in the last hour, and that's when he's talking about the vineyard, which is Israel, and the fig tree, which is Jerusalem, and Jesus is the gardener, and the 3 years, the time from John's coming. So there's a lot of connections there we can make. And then Mark puts the cleansing of the temple between the saying and its fulfillment, which also take place on 2 different days. And Matthew restores the unity of the event. The curse takes effect at once in Matthew 21:19. 19. When he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it and found nothing on, but leaves only. And he said unto it, let no fruit grow on thee henceforward. And presently the fig tree withered away. So one of them has that they went away and came back, and they saw that it was withered. But this one says parakrema, immediately. It was, so you have to look at that when you look at all the other synoptic gospels. And let me see if I can get this here. A lot of good stuff here. None thereon. That's Luke 13. Every branch that not fruit, take it away. And every branch that bears fruit, he purges it, that it may bring forth more fruit. So if you're getting cut down, it's good, because you'll have more fruit after you get purged. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered, and men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. And that's the judgment. Which one is it? Oh, Mark 11. And Jesus said unto him, no man eat fruit on thee hereafter. And his disciples heard it. And they came to Jerusalem, and Jesus went into the temple and began to cast out them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves. And he would not suffer any man they should carry any vessel to the temple. So he said, and he taught them, saying, it is not written, my house shall be called of all nations the house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. And the scribes and the chief priests heard it, and they sought how they might destroy him, for they feared him, because all the people were astonished at his doctrine. And he was also interfering with their greed too. So, and when even was come, he went out of the city, and in the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree dried up from the roots. So you're talking about a day later, they noticed it. But here in Matthew 21:19, it was presently, immediately, the fig tree withered away. So they probably didn't notice it when it first happened. But in Matthew, it says it immediately withered. And over here is like after he went and purged the temple, and they came back and they saw it, that it was dried up from the roots. So let me see. And where's that's in Mark. Yeah, okay. So Mark was the first gospel, and then Matthew. One theory is that Mark was the first to link this with the entry into Jerusalem and the cleansing of the temple, there being no original connection with these events. So the way Mark wrote it, he waited for them to go back and see the tree. So in between the Jesus cursing the tree and them noticing it, he did this thing in the temple. So I don't know. The story itself seems to presuppose that it is the time of figs, since only then is there cause to be disappointed at their absence. But we know the time of figs is the time for the harvest. The miracle, which stands alone as a miracle of judgment in the synoptic tradition, and which from the very first was viewed as a symbolical cursing of unfruitful Israel, which it is. It's viewed by some as a secondary reconstruction of the parable of the barren fig tree in Luke 13, which we saw, or some similar parable in the form of a dramatic incident. Another theory is that it came into being as an ideological, I never saw that word, ideological legend explaining a prominent withered fig tree. AETIO, ideological. I should look that up. Maybe you look it up for me. Oh, here we go. There's ideological. Oh, I was looking at the sundial too. Okay, yeah. Ideological. Where is it? AETIO. AETIO. Itology. 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 Nothing. Itology. Well, it doesn't give me a definition. Etiology, British spelling, etiology. The cause of a disease or abnormal condition, a branch of knowledge concerned with causes, a branch of medical science concerned with the causes of origins and diseases. Okay, etymological legend explaining a prominent withered fig tree. Okay, yet another hypothesis is that a misunderstanding of the saying, which with a very different point formed the basis for the development of a tradition which we now have at a late and corrupt stage. The parable of the sprouting fig tree, by which one knows that summer is at hand, and that's in Mark 13:28. Mark 13:28. You guys are so small. You think when we learn a parable of a fig tree, when her branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, you know that summer is near, right? So the leaves come, so that ye, in like manner, when ye see these things come to pass, know that it is nigh, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you that this generation shall not pass till all these things be done. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. And there's another parable where he talks about you can discern the sign of the times, the signs in the sky, but you can't see what's coming, you know. And then that's 30:28, and then Matthew 24, I think it's the same thing. Matthew 24 and 32. Yeah. All right. Look for another verse there. This is Luke 21, parable of the fig tree. All right. The sign of the times. I don't know where that verse is, where he admonishes them. You know, this stands at the end of the synoptic apocalypse and is related to the signs of the end, the future signs of an event which is to be expected in the even more distant future. This might suggest a later stage of Christian apocalyptic and a certain tension with sayings like Luke 17:20, Luke 17:20. 17:20, I think that has to do about the repenting there. And when he was demanded of the Pharisees when the kingdom of God should come, he answered them and said, the kingdom of God cometh not with observation, neither shall they say, lo here or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. 17. So, and if like 12, 54 to 59, Luke's got some long stuff here. 54 to 59. And he said unto people, when you see a cloud rise in the west, straightway you say, there cometh a shower, and so it is. And when you see the south wind blow, you say, there will be heat, and it come to pass. This is the verse I was looking for. He says, you hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky and of the earth, but how is it you do not discern the time? All right. Yea, even, and why even of yourselves judge ye not what is right? When thou goest with thine adversary to the magistrate, and thou art in the way, give diligence that thou mayest be delivered from him, lest he hale thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and the officer cast thee into prison. I tell you, thou shalt not depart thence till thou hast paid the very last mite. Some idea construe some kind of purgatory out of that, right? So its original reference is to present signs, to the signs of the basilia, the kingdom, given in Jesus's works, rather than to the apocalyptic events, to the signs which thus guarantee the speedy coming of the kingdom. The saying becomes one of the clearest testimonies to immediate and urgent expectation of Jesus, and we know that's not true. And then Revelation 6:13 we covered. I mean, there's so many other verses having to do with untimely figs and things like that. I'll see if I can run across them again. I got them up here somewhere. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. So this compares the plunging of the stars from heaven at the opening of the last seal. And it compares that to the untimely figs, which the storm shakes off from the fig tree. And the basis, and you'll find this in Isaiah 34. It goes back to that. Isaiah 34. 4, let's see. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth from off the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. It's like he read Revelation, Isaiah 34:4 when he was writing Revelation 6:13. I wonder if the words are the same here. They probably are, yeah, if you go to the Septuagint. Yeah. So there's some good stuff in there. Also Revelation 6:14, and the heaven departed as a scroll. There it is. This Isaiah 34:4 is actually Revelation 6:13 and 14. Amazing how we can find these things when we do a cross-reference. And then I got some other stuff here. I want to get this out of here. 40 and 10, we read that. Okay. And these verses here, that's the fig. Okay. That's good. And 14:18, here we go. Revelation 14:18. And another angel came out of the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth. That's us. For her grapes are fully ripe. Akmadzo, to be fully ripe, to flourish, to come to maturity. That's it, the end of time. Akmen means yet. One time in the Bible. Both of these are one time in the Bible. Acme. Okay, and Joel 3:13, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. The harvest. Kitzir, the harvest, is ripe. And that's 13:10. That's Bashal. Okay. In Genesis 40, talks about this. That was the butler, I think. Yeah. Let me put it in context. And he talks that the butler and the vine. Let me just go back it up here. Chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and he said to him, in my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and the vine with 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And the Pharaoh's cup was in my hand. I took the grapes, I pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph interprets it. And he says, the 3 branches are 3 days. And within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head and restore thee unto the place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand after the former manner when thou was his butler. And of course he says, please don't forget me, and he does. So, but the poor baker got his head chopped off. And the baker was like, oh man, that's a good story. Let me give him mine. He says, the chief baker came and he saw that the interpretation was good. And he said to Joseph, I also had a dream. Behold, I had 3 white baskets in my head. So, and in the uppermost basket, there was all manner of baked beats for Pharaoh. The birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. Can't be good, right? And Joseph answered, this is the interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days, And within 3 days, Pharaoh shall lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. Oh man, how come I didn't get what the butler had? That's wild. Yeah. And then this good figs, we saw that already. And this first ripe, we can get into first ripe some other time. The forerunner, we did. This we did. The ripe fruits. I took all the words with ripe. There's 7 verses with ripe. Believe it or not, there's only 7 verses with ripe in it. Ripe grapes, ripe fruits, thy liquors, the firstborn of thy sons, thou shalt give unto me. This is where they interpreted it that they were supposed to sacrifice their sons, which he didn't say to do anyway. And whatsoever is first ripe in the land, which they shall bring unto the Lord, shall be thine. Everyone that is clean in thine house shall eat of it. And the one basket had the good figs. We saw that. Joel 3:13 we saw. And Revelation 14:15. Another angel came out of the temple crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And we read 4:18 already. And this would be Isaiah 28:4. We read about 5 times already. And first ripe. And whatsoever is first ripe in the land, which they shall bring. Yeah, we read these already. Okay, first ripe. That's the 1061. Yeah, 1061 is first fruit, first ripe, and 1073 is first ripe. And the firstborn is also connected to that, but that's a lot to get into right now. So these are the 3. And these, there's I looked at this already. The Revelation 6:13 and Isaiah 34:4, and I had them. I did a what do you call it? A commentary on both of these, and it's good. We get the gist of it. Revelation 6:13 and Isaiah 34:4 are the same thing. And we read this, Jeremiah 29 and Matthew 21. We saw this. Yes. Okay, we did that. I think I'm done here. Let me see. Green figs, we did that. Hasty fruit, yes. Naughty fruit. Naughty figs, untimely figs, unripe grapes, we did. Ripe grapes. So I think I did the parable, yes, with Jotham. And that's good. We did everything that I wanted to do for today. So we'll just take a moment of silence here. Thank you, God, for doing this. You give us these words, and all we do is what you want us to do, which is define each word in the Bible. And that's all we do, one word at a time, one verse at a time, until we get it. And we love doing this. Nothing else I want to do. Let's do this. So we love you. We thank you. Give all the praise and glory. And we'll do everything in Jesus' name. Amen. Michael made it. How you doing, Mikey? How's Denise? Oh, Eli's here. Eli came. Hide your heart, girl. Oh, let me stop recording before I say something stupid. Thank you, God.